What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show, the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am Justin, here with Meelz for yet another week of pro wrestling. What's going on, Meelz?
Let me see. Do I have anything to talk about this week? Happy Juneteenth to everybody. I'm not sure if that's a thing that we say.
Juneteenth is like the biggest, well, thanks, I guess, holiday
Yeah,
of all time, bro. How about instead of the holiday, you give every black person $500?
that would be nice. I feel like at least once a year we need to get a stimulus check. Like
Yeah.
that needs to be a thing again. Like I know under the last regime, I'm calling it a regime. Um, I know under the last regime it was a thing because of COVID, but I also feel like it's hard out here. We kind of need stimulus checks. I'm gonna keep it above with you.
Bro, inflation ain't no fucking joke, man. I went to the grocery store this past weekend. Like, I actually physically went in,
Mm-hmm.
and I have never been more sickened in my life.
It's cheaper than getting it from. I had a Instacart thing yesterday. I got a guy. You know that's the thing on the internet now. Is like if you get a guy for Instacart, you're fucked. Um, because they're gonna get you the wrong thing. And sure enough, he did get me the wrong thing. But no, it's a. I feel like now businesses are trying to now make things in store cheaper so people feel more inclined to not spend it on like Uber Eats or like DoorDash or shit like that. I don't know if it's working though.
I don't know if it's working either. Because the thing is like, we still like saved some money by going to the grocery store, but ultimately, like the shit that I saw, like they were charging. This might be California pricing, and also I was at Pavilions. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I shouldn't say this.
Well, turn your mic up.
Maybe
I'm so serious too.
like I think that like, hold on as I adjust my mic level here.
Ooh,
There we go.
that's amazing.
There we go.
Also that was a very pleasing sound, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. I give it to you one more time. Anyway, as I went to the grocery store, I saw $1.28 jalapenos. I said, "Yeah, man, it might be time to start robbing banks for selling drugs."
Or growing your own shit. Like at this point, you got your own crib. You could farm now. You
Which
could do a little garden.
we're planning on doing that, by the way.
I don't blame you. Like fucking Oprah. Oprah got $1 billion, but she also has her own fucking farm. Like
Well, she got the
Oprah,
color purple farm.
she OT does real slaves and everything.
Purple never dies.
she she grows all her own stuff. She doesn't like. Of course, she's Oprah, so she's probably never been inside of a supermarket for like the last like probably 25 years. But
Oprah has been rich for the entirety of our like existence since we were like children. You know,
it's all right. Let me. How far detached from society do you feel like you could get realistically by being rich? Because I feel like the detachment from society is like major once you hit a certain tax bracket, and it's why we think celebrities are stupid or insensitive or like do all these other things. And I'm beginning to think like money is a major issue.
I feel like at the age that I'm at right now, it would probably take me like 10 years to maybe feel that type of detachment from society. But I feel like we're like, we would not be rich long enough to feel that type of, uh, lack of awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think we're there at all, you know?
No, that's a fact. Like it's a. I don't think we'll. I know personally, it has to reach. I do want to be like rich. Um, at one day, like perhaps, if I'm so big. But yeah, I don't know. It's a. I inflation is like crazy to the extent. What's the biggest inconvenience that you've had thus far because of inflation? Let's talk about that.
Uh, not really an inconvenience, and I guess that's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Because not a lot of people can say that.
Hmm.
I think that I see what it is, and it's like it's crazy when you get to a point where you're like, damn. And when you see that, but you still kind of go forward and do what you need to do. But I think it's more so for the people that can't. You know what I mean? Like it's rough. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really rough out here. And
So New York's a different story, right? New York, everyone's trying to hustle everyone, including your elected officials. Um,
y'all got that key
so
back, though. You got the key back.
right, so buses are now essentially $3 to get on to go to anywhere.
Yeesh.
Buses and trains. They're also now trying to enact a law where to be able to drive in the lower Manhattan, you need to pay a toll, which is an additional $15 to drive anywhere below 60th Street, um, which is nuts. Like, imagine you fly in to New York, right? You
Mhm.
fly in and taking an Uber to where you got to go, but you have to also pay an additional fee on top of your Uber, which is already $1 million, to get into Lower Manhattan, where you're likely staying if you're staying in a hotel. Um, then they're also fining if you park at a bus stop or in front of a bus stop or a thing is bus stop. They're also going to start fining people for that as well. Um, I forgot what else. I don't know. There's just so much little like inconveniences that movies cost a lot. Don't even want to do that. Food costs a lot. I've started budgeting. I realize this. I budget my days going outside because if I go outside, I will spend money.
Yeah.
So I started not just budgeting my money, but budgeting my time outside because outside is at least $60. Like just going anywhere. Like I just out go ahead.
And you're thinking about like I'm in a city that's not walkable. You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
you have to like spend gas money and shit like that, and it's real, man. It's really real in the field. I hate this sound so. We always like. I think last week's conversation, this week's
Sometimes
conversation,
people need to hear that real because on
it's just
Raw there was that fake, which I
it's
wasn't a
so
fan of.
what what fake on Raw?
The
We'll talk.
fake,
We'll
the
talk.
end of Raw.
We'll talk about this segment. Because you know what about that segment? Like I know that me and you probably have the same idea about it. In fact, I'm quite sure that me and you have the same idea about it. Like I already knew how you felt about it. I didn't even go on Twitter and look at anything. But a
Uh-huh.
lot of people are really feeling this shit. And like I think I don't want to ruin their fun. I
Yeah, that's
like
essentially where I'm kind of at with it. That's why
yeah.
I said on Twitter this morning, I was like, essentially, like, I'm going to take my thoughts of this on the A show. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to say like, I think this is kind of stupid, but we can talk about it on the end of the free thing, and then talk about the rest of Raw on Patreon. But
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
Do we want to let's get to wrestling talk now because we got a show to review. We have a I guess controversy. Is this really controversy to talk about? I shudder to think that a company that is seemingly doing so much right in the eyes of like reviewers and the larger fan base, they still have these issues coming out of pay-per-views that like where I feel like I'm crazy for really enjoying something and then people are like, no, this is actually the worst thing ever. So um is there before we get to Clash at the Castle Glasgow, was there any huge news stories coming out? I think like the biggest thing was still Ricochet. Still seems as though he's not going to be back. They mentioned him a number of
mul-
times on Raw.
multiple times on which I don't know what's that about. Essentially,
Oh, no,
I
here's the
feel
thing. That has never happened. It has never happened, Meals. In this company has never happened.
they usually, if you're done,
They
you
don't
are
talk,
done.
yeah, they don't talk about you ever again.
They
Um
don't even talk about you in like glowing ways. Like I think Moxley was over and we rarely ever heard him mention. They even cut him out of like YouTube videos. They like crop him out of the fucking title card and shit like that. Like Punk, they just never talked about Punk ever again. Um so for him to be kind of like written off in this storyline thing, I would have to imagine there's some sort of like negotiation still going on, if there is, in my opinion.
no,
I
I think there probably is some negotiations going on right now. Yeah.
yeah, I would say so because Yeah, they mentioned. I was like, damn. Like, first, they were like, we don't know if Ricochet ever come back.
It could be a month. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 2 years. Who knows? Like they just did. They did not know. I think the thing that kind of gives me some pause is they've largely gotten or re-signed everyone that they really wanted, right? And
Yes.
it hasn't come to the wire like this yet. But it's like if Finn has signed, Chad Gable has signed, Drew McIntyre has signed. To me, it seems, to your point, less about like a money issue at this point and more of like, I guess, what he wants out of it, which I would imagine cooler heads will prevail, but we'll see. Like the word from PWI is, he's still leaving, but they're not in the room every day with him. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But he was mentioned countless times. They replayed it. I mean, Cole was very intentional to be like, we don't know when we'll see him again. And maybe that's their respectful way of letting people go now. This is the
Yeah.
way. So, but it just seems weird, and I'm not really sure.
Because
Uh,
last time people just left. They were like, in an unprofessional manner, these two broads left
right.
and left the tag team titles, and now we're just not going to use them for 7 months.
Sheesh, come on, man. Like it is. It really is. It's an interesting thing. I've never seen anything like it. I said this last week. Like this just did not seem like a write off to me. It just seemed like he's going on vacation type thing,
Right.
and he'll be back in August. So who knows? I mean, but there's also a level of, and we'll talk about this on Raw, a level of surprise that comes with this era too, where you still do get surprises, and they are still working people behind the scenes, so you never know.
This is true. I have some quick news bits and maybe we can run through. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, MJF is back in AEW. What do we kind of surmise about the new MJF? He seems to be dropping the suits. He seems to be a lot more of a, I guess,
He's Triple H.
yeah.
Yeah.
He seems to be moving in that route. What do we think of MJF's return thus far?
I will be clear with you. Last week's Dynamite, I tapped out 35, 40. The six man, I was out. I dipped. I couldn't stand to kind of watch any more of that. But I think presentation wise, it is different. But the thing is, right, Mills is like, it just seems. I hate to.
I didn't watch the show, but this week I have to watch the show because I'm on the War Report this week.
It just seems like very pastiche, kind of ghetto, kind of like.
My thing is, here's my thing with it's always been with AEW, and it's so weird. I think a lot of it is kind of boring, but then people say it's like the greatest thing ever, and I'm like, yo, our eyes are just totally different. Like,
It is mad boring, and I think that like imagine somebody come back like he comes back and he's like, I'm gonna fight Roosh now, and I think that like
who's also coming back?
who's
Like,
also coming back and has not been on T or like hasn't been injured, I guess, or was he injured? I don't know. They don't announce these things, but like it just seems like it's not who he should be facing first. If that
yeah,
makes sense. Like it just feels kind of second rate. There's a build right now to Forbidden Door that I'm guessing that like he's fighting Roosh because he has like a what is it? Is he he's not from AAA, right? He's from CMLL. So it's
bro,
that
I don't.
connection.
Yeah,
I'm sure Chris Mack will give me the yay or nay on that one. But like I just think that again the way he's presented is like I think there's a problem when you come back from a long absence and I see some people tweeting that he needs to go back. Like I literally saw somebody say he needs to go back home because we don't need these because like the promos, man. Somebody needs to tell him to chill. Like it's okay to have like a 5 minute promo, yo. Like that
yeah.
that
It's
can get
but my thing is that they also don't know how to like they don't know how to cycle out their shows where one thing can be the attraction one week and then the other thing can be attraction another week. And you can kind of like you can hide MJF in the background one week because in 2 weeks he's gonna like for instance, this week he has a match. 30 minutes. First 30 minutes of Dynamite, which I'm assuming is like NBA's gone, thank God. Um, let's start. Let's keep these people watching with 30 minutes free or first hour free or however the fuck they're doing it this week.
Love.
Um, bruh. Um, they also lost to NXT
Yeah,
last
they
week.
lost to NXT last week by 32,000 viewers. It was 718 to 680 something.
In
I
the
listen,
demo, they didn't lose, but
by 1 point. They lost, quote, "lost the demo by 1 point." So, good job. Um, eh, Imma be real, I don't see a huge precipitous bounce back from the finals. Because you know what? I don't think the finals was the issue, ultimately. I don't think the NBA finals was the issue. The finals are on at the same time every year. They might end, this one ended a little earlier, but they're
right.
on at the same time every single year. So how long are we gonna be able to say that it was NBA or Vanderpump Rules?
And then I also think, just in general, summer is a tough time for people to be inside watching TV. Like, it's not summer TV is usually when you do the worst numbers. That's why people don't premiere in the summer. They wait usually until the fall. If you premiere in the summer, you usually, unless you're like HBO Max, House of Dragons, or whatever the hell they got going on right now, it's usually like not a good kind of thing for the show. Um, Unless you have something really, really big coming up, which I guess they have Blood and Guts. Uh,
Jesus.
Whatever that is.
I will say, and I'll say this again, and I say this all the time. I have never, ever, ever seen a company bounce back from the fall that they're having right now.
Have you watched Who Killed WCW yet?
Yeah, man. You wanna get into that?
Let's talk about it.
You wanna get into that? Yeah, let's get into that. AEW is not whatever. It's whatever. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Listen, first two episodes aired over the past 2 weeks. I've watched them. You guys watch them as they air on Tuesdays, I think.
Yeah.
But I watched them.
I watched that and Clipped at the same time, which I feel like is in the same genre
Yeah,
of made believe bullshit.
I can tell you right now, my general feeling on this show is I do not know why it exists. I think there is
Good,
a
good
far
response.
I think there is a far superior piece of media about WCW, and it is the Alvarez book on WCW. That is one of the best books I've ever read in my life, and I had it on audiobook.
Brian
Uh,
Alvarez?
yeah, it's Alvarez, right? It's isn't it the Death of WCW? It
Hold
was
on.
Artie Reynolds and Brian Alvarez, and Alvarez actually does
Oh,
the
yeah, I see it.
audiobook for it. Alvarez does the audiobook for it, and it is one of the funniest audiobooks ever because it's Alvarez, his
Of
voice
course, it's Smarky ass.
and the way that he says certain things is just funny. That is to me the best WCW whatever that you could ever have. And this book is 10 years old this year. Actually, the death of WCW. Um,
Hmm.
it's 10 years old, I believe. And I think that if you want to really get a non-biased, let's be clear, journalistic view of what went on, that is that's the way to do it. And of course, like if you've never read this book or listened to this book, you need to get it. But the way they do it, they go through the observer entries, and he reads off the observer entries from the pinnacle weeks of WCW, from when they were on to when they start
Hmm.
stepping off. And he and again, what you get in this series is essentially a bunch of old men pointing fingers at each other. What you get in that book is from all sides. Everyone is at fault.
Right.
Everyone.
It to me, this I look at kind of the structure of how this documentary is made. I know it's The Rock who essentially executive produced this, but it feels shoddy in the way that it's put together, especially how they have moments kind of like run into each other or just like abruptly end or not really given much more context than it probably does need. Like, I feel like everything kind of runs together and the show could benefit from being like maybe another hour long for each episode. Like, I feel like it,
No, no,
but
no.
here's my thing though. Like, everything is so short and to the point where they're essentially cutting sound bites for each moment of the show. No one's properly explaining anything that's going on, um, or like the context behind it, or like why this would happen. All of it's like, and Hogan came back and won the title, and then it's like Bret Hart saying like, "Man, the brother, he couldn't even." tie my boots or whatever the hell it is, and it becomes that's why I feel like it becomes this like smarmy show, where I feel like the information is lost. The good thing about the Vice series have been, and they've done more Dark Side of the Ring stuff, is like generally people who don't watch wrestling. I've heard them say like, "Yo, have you seen Dark Side of Wrestling? Like, this is the first time I've ever heard things like this." Da, 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 da. So these documentaries become like a great entry point to a lot of people who may not have watched regularly to be able to tune into stuff because it's an exciting documentary. However, like you said, when it comes to like, there's so much more stuff to uncover from it that I feel like you're not getting for it in this like hour episode where Bischoff is trying to blame this person and Nash is trying to blame this person and they're trying to like defend the finger poke of doom and all this other stuff like that. Like,
That to me was just when he did that. I was like, at that point, I'm just like, okay, like I fuck with Nash, but come the fuck on. I think an extra hour means an extra hour of Eric Bischoff is an extra hour of Eric Bischoff lying and capping, an extra hour of pretty much everybody lying on this show.
right.
And I look at the fucking show
He
and I'm
couldn't
like,
work. He couldn't work.
exactly. I'm just like, what in the hell is going on here? Like, it is legitimately one of the most frustrating watches to me because, like, simply because of the fact that like these are just a bunch of old ass niggas that really should stop talking about this, and they're to the point where I don't think they actually remember what was going on. Meals, like I don't think they remember what was going on during
And
this.
then randomly the Rock will chime in.
I just don't understand why this show has to exist. I really don't. Like it just seems very not ill timed, but very like ill intentioned. Like what is the point of this show's existence? Um
Yeah, I don't know why The Rock would be the executive producer. Like, I don't understand. I get it from a standpoint of like maybe you pitch this right. Like maybe instead of like the Dark Side of the Ring, a whole season on WCW, which might be great to be honest with you. Um, they are like, oh, let's pitch this to The Rock, work with Vice and stuff because The Rock has been working with Vice. He tried to work on that other show, like what the Bright Side of the Ring, what the fuck it was called, like some positive shit that no one gave a damn about. Um,
Stories from the territories, I think is what it was.
yeah, like who cares? Like no, don't give a damn about that. But this is way more salacious, way more dramatic, and but to me, it's just like as a documentary, I feel like I'm not getting enough, especially knowing as much as I know, and then also me not knowing a lot because I wasn't a big WCW person, so I don't know the week but to week dramatic stuff that happened. But I feel like this show doesn't cover it in spades, nor
No,
I,
because they're whittling down the death of WCW to 3 or 4 major events. Like they're not talking about the Ultimate Warrior thing because again, like Rock has a relationship with WWE, so you can't really soil the name of one of their fallen Hall of Famers.
right.
They won't talk about the Roddy Piper stuff. They're not going to talk really in depth about some of
Ric
the
Flair's things with WCW and all this
exactly.
other stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's heavily compromised, and even more than it being heavily compromised, it's heavily skewed towards one side. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very much like let's get all these people in there and have them point fingers at each other. Like what would have been more interesting is for all of these dudes that they're talking to and these talking heads to be in one room and have Jim Cornette as the moderator.
Mm.
That's a way more interesting show to me.
No way they get them all in one room.
They'll all kill each other, but it's gonna be a better show. Okay, like because what I'm seeing right now is like do I stick around for the end of the season? Because a lot of it also Meals is stuff that you've heard before.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff I've heard before. Like essentially it's the major point, like they have the Monday Night War documentary, which is a WWE produced thing, and it's kind of like it is what it is. It varies on like your the winners write the story kind of vibe because it essentially pitches WWF as the guys who had to fight from underneath to be able to topple this massive conglomerate of Ted Turner's WCW and blah blah blah. But to me, like I never come away. I think what they try to come away with every episode is like who killed WCW, and there are like several names and suspects. Right? It would be great if they even listed suspects. Um, but no one's taking real ownership. And then there are going to be some people who say it was the wrestling, and some people who say it was Goldberg, and some people who say it was Time Warner. And it's great to have all these talking heads. I think it's awesome that they had all these talking heads, especially from the executives of Time Warner. I thought that was great. But I feel like this is so like after every hour, I'm like, oh wow, we just jumped from Eric Bischoff's story to Eric the NWO, and then we jumped from the finger poke of the Goldberg to the finger poke of Doom to something else, and now we're in the Vince Russo. I can't imagine the Vince Russo episode because quite honestly, we've heard it all before. Shout out to Sunshine Anderson, but
Yeah, I mean, I think again, there's also just like the same people that are talking. I mean, it's cool to get Conan. It's cool to get Sullivan. I just don't understand the purpose for of the show other than like The Rock having like a wrestling kind of vanity project at this point. Meals,
he probably signed them like a multiple thing deal with Vice for whatever reason. To do a multiple project kind of thing. That's what I can imagine why it would be done. But yeah, it doesn't.
it don't move me. I'll just say that it don't move me. If you never saw the story, which is like again, people listen to our show, they're like they're hardcores. You know what I'm saying? Or they're hardcore fans of the product. And if you haven't seen what happened in WCW, I would just again, Death of WCW is $9.99 on Kindle right now. And for the audiobook, I believe, or the audiobook's 21, it's on Kindle for $9.99. It is a much better use of your time than this show is. And I know that just from the first two episodes. They've skipped over everything. Like just watch that or listen to that book or read that book. It's way better. It goes literally from 1988 all the way to 2003 and talks about how they fucking lost $55 million or how they made $55 million in 1 year, and that whole section is fucking great how they did that. So
Mhm.
um much better. Way better. I'm gonna re-listen to that audiobook.
I probably will too at this point. Yeah, it's
It's if you do, please let me know how you feel about it because you're gonna love it. And Alvarez does a. I don't like the guy in anything like any other capacity most times, but like he's really great on the audiobook.
okay. All right, I'm down. Um, Other quick hits this week. Shout out to Tatum Paxley. She showed up at a TNA pay per view to wrestle Jordan Grace.
Why they
The
send
lines.
why did they send her to Old Block to do a wrestling show?
Who else they was gonna send? Like she. I mean, she's. I think it's part of I guess WWE's initiative to like expand outside of the borders, which is something they did in the original NXT, right? Like you think of Street Profits becoming the Evolve Tag Team Champions before there ever were NXT or WWE Tag Team Champions. Like it seems like they want to continue to expand outside their borders, and it's even more exemplified because we also got the announcement that AJ Styles is set to face Noah's Naomichi Marufuji
Yeah,
at
Marufuji.
Destination 2024, and I think also Io Sky. Who's Io Sky facing?
Isn't she facing like the chick who won match of the year a couple of years ago? She's
And
in
the
Marigold.
right,
She's facing Utami Hayashi Shida. Yeah, she's I gave her match of the year like 3 years ago.
it's they're doing their best. I think people are. I think it's funny. People are also like, isn't it weird they're doing this in June? I think they've always wanted to do this, but I also do think it's kind of like a put the pressure on AEW with their Forbidden Door stuff as well.
Is
Um,
it pressure? Because the thing is
it's
like
like I feel like doing it. I feel like also announcing all these things at the same time and it being done at the same time of Forbidden Door isn't a coincidence.
hey man, just how the cookies crumble, man. It's just how the deals were signed. It's just the deals were signed.
Summer's just hot, you
What do
know.
you want him to say?
No, I mean, but it is what it is. WWE's trying to with NXT especially. You can expect some TNA guys um on NXT tonight. and then also, yeah, everything that we just kind of announced. So it is what it is. Let's see. Are there any other quick things? Any quick news bits? I was gonna say the Hardy Boys are back, but yeah.
And Jeff saying that dumbass shit in the interview I saw this morning talking about, yeah, CM Punk got the magic, and I'm just trying to get I'm trying to get that magic back with my fans. I'm like, bro, you ain't never lose it. You just washed. And niggas know it. Like Punk washed too. It's just that he more active and he had a better lifestyle than you do, bro. Like just go
He,
sit down.
yeah, yeah. I think Jeff Hardy does need to sit down. He's been doing it for a while. It's not even that he's like super old. He's just been doing it for way long. Like he can sit down. Matt Hardy too, but they're never gonna do that. They're carnies. That might be it. You can probably go to Clash of the Castle, to be honest with you.
I wanted to get your quick thought on NXT, how they're like actually hot right now. Strangely enough,
Um, it's to me,
something in this show is resonating with people, like and people are really fucking with it. And I think they're on a and again, I say this all the time, it ebbs and flows. You know what
it
I'm saying?
does.
It's
It
not
does.
always going to be this. It's hot right now for sure, undoubtedly. And going into CW, what is it this year? Isn't it like this September?
Yeah, it's this September.
Yeah, like going into CW, they got to be this hot. They got to go in. Like I understand it, but I think that I don't even want to say strangely enough. I feel like it's they've been building this show for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? And I think that this is kind of it's um in a lot of ways it's final form, if that makes a lot of sense. But I want to get like your quick thought on it.
I love how they continue to cycle out. The thing with NXT is it'll never be the same. Even I think every 2 years there's a massive shift with NXT, which I like because it always remains a fresh show. And I think that's what the allure of NXT has been over the last decade is that it remains a fresh show. Even if you don't like the new characters, there's something new and there's kind of really something for everybody on the show. To me, it's like one of the only like wrestling variety shows that I could actually say because there's something for everybody, for the blacks, for the whites, for for everybody in between. Um, like those things that they're doing on the show, especially the incorporation of TNA, that's a very like I talked about it last week when I talked about the Roxanne defense. I think that's a very like substantial thing that they're opening these to another major company, having real business with them, and doing real business in a major way. But then I also think they have this super hot champion, and also I guess rising tides raise all ships. Like Trick Williams is maybe the hottest NXT champion that maybe NXT has ever had. And I'm talking about in terms of like crowd support. Not that like he can go in the ring because they can all go, but I'm thinking about like people genuinely like him. People tune in to watch him. He's an upswing for the moment when the actual show comes on. Like Trick Williams legitimately is like already a star in WWE.
Mhm.
Um, and that's always important because we see like when we watch on Wednesdays, for instance, you see how like a lack of a star can bring some sort of so much. Um, People don't pay attention. People aren't really drawn to anything. Things just kind of happen. But when you know you have that kind of like center star, and they're also building center stars around them on NXT with they're building up Kalani Jordan, they're building up Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice and stuff like that. Like they legitimately have a roster. They're treating this like an actual company in a way. And I think that makes it special. And then also NXT tries different things that the main shows don't try, or really any wrestling show doesn't try. Um I'm trying to remember something from last week that I thought was awesome, but I can't remember it. But I just know I tune in every once a week and be like, yo, they wow, never thought of that. Or like the cookout comment, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Niggas was mad about that. I was just like, bro, NXT is a definitely a meme show. Like
Yeah. It
it is the one show on WWE programming where they can lean into the memes. So I would not be that fucking upset about the cookout comment.
no, but then they also did the little They have it on YouTube. Cody Rhodes runs into some old friends. Like those kind of moments, they're very aware of the moment. Like Shawn Michaels isn't. There'll be some times where you're like, "Huh, what's going on here?" And actually, like, I know a lot of you guys didn't like the new Wendy Chu. I'm open to Wendy Chu, and her new gimmick because I just feel like she's the kind of wrestler who she'll try anything. She's like Kane, right? Like she'll try
No,
it,
that
right?
shit's whack.
She'll try anything and make it work. And she has a level of commitment to the character to make it work. So even if you're not really feeling it, she's gonna go 100% and actually put some effort into it. I'm a lipo Wendy Chu's new sleepy, hangry character. I'm a lipo that because I think it has some legs, um, and I think she's on her way out anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Wendy Chu?
Yeah, I think Wendy Chu's on her way out. She's been in NXT far too long, even with the injury. She's been in NXT way too long. And I think the reason why. So here's the reason why I think they changed her character. I should save this for the War Report. Tune in on War Report this week when I talk about it. Um, I've gone to live shows where Wendy Chu has wrestled in the dark match. She wrestled in a dark match in her hometown of New York. Hometown. No one cared. Like no one was like, even with NXT, right? They'll bring out an Ilya Dragunov and he'll at least get a pop. You know what I'm saying? They'll bring out somebody from the show and they're like, oh, that's that guy from NXT. They'll at least get a pop. There was no pop. It was kind of like, okay. I mean, granted, she was facing Dana Brooke, but it's like I think she realized let's try something different and let's see what kind of like sticks and let's see how do we can get the most out of this. That's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts on NXT really quickly?
I think it's doing great. I think it's doing great right now. I think right now they got to get some more workers for the men. I think right now the men are more pressing issue than I think the women are right now. You got to get those. You got to get them. You got to get the guys hot again somehow. I don't think no quarter catch crew's doing it or cutting it for me, especially like if now it looks like they're trying to figure out their characters. Like I don't mind with like not to pick on them. Like I don't mind what Dempsey's doing. Dempsey actually kind of got a couple chuckles out of me. I think he's actually being able to show more
Yeah,
character than what he
right.
was doing for the past 2 years. And I actually think it's kind of funny. But I think that like the guys he's around are just they're not it for me. I can't. He needs to get away from those guys. But it's just like like you gotta remember like they lost Dijak. They lost a bunch of people in the last couple of months. Mello, they lost Braun. They lost a lot of their workers. And they got to figure that out because Trick still isn't quite there, but he looks good. You know what I'm saying? But he's
Yeah,
still not there. So
he's as popular as he can be without being like he's their top guy for a reason, and the top guy is because everyone loves him and everyone wants to see Trick. And while his in ring hasn't really caught up to like the magnitude of a star, he's a star nonetheless, and that's always going to trump everything when it comes to WWE. If you're a star, you're a star. We can figure out the in ring shit afterwards, is what they'll say. But if you're a star, you're a star.
Clash of the Castle, live from Glasgow.
Mm.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm bugging. Like I don't want to sound crazy, but I really fucking enjoyed the show. Um, I think it had one of my favorite matches all year on
Mm-hmm.
this card. I think that storyline wise, it pushed things forward. I think if you were looking for like Danielson Osprey level shit, then like that's I mean, obviously that's not going to be for you, but this isn't the company that does that anyway, so it would never be for you anyway. But I think just in terms of a spectacle and a show, like I saw somebody say like, "Oh, it's a bunch of people, it's a hot crowd being excited about 3-star matches," and I was just like, "That's isn't that mostly what wrestling is anyway?" like,
Yeah.
like that's Well, thanks for
It would suck if the crowd wasn't as excited, huh? Like,
and then,
or
then
if the arena was half full or some shit like that.
and then it would just be a 3-star match at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a bumped to 4 by the way the crowd reacts, like idiot. But I think that I mean just going up and down the card here, like I think every match pretty much for the most part delivered. Like I thought that like the I Quit match opening the show was the perfect thing to open the show. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think Cody's missed this year.
No, but I don't think he'll miss. But I kind of want to talk about. Let's talk about it now. Well, first of all, fantastic match, right? I quit match.
I was getting scared. I was wondering where you were going.
No, 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 fantastic match. The post match, we're clearly moving on from the AJ Styles thing to the solo.
Yeah.
And we've talked about is like is Solo coming up because we were like under the impression we were like, okay, they got to keep, how are they going to keep Cody and Solo away from each other? And at this point, I don't think Solo is enough of a priority for them to be keep them away from each other for so long.
Yeah, because there's literally no one else for Solo and them to face on SmackDown. You're right.
So for me, this Cody and Solo thing, like I was thinking about it, I was like, this could have been, if you asked me 2 weeks ago if this could have been a SummerSlam match, and I would have been like, yeah. But then kind of like I go through the shows every week on SmackDown, and there's just something with Solo that doesn't quite, he's not there yet. And I'm not even sure if he'll ever actually get there to the kind of like a big magnitude star, kind of like uh, like a, I wouldn't say Jey Uso, but I'm like heel version. Like to me, the new bloodline is kind of boof. Like it's kind of, it's not hitting for me.
The
And
brother, I think the brother kind of fucked it up for me. What's his name? Loa, Tonga Loa,
yeah,
kind of fuck. He come off swagger. I actually think Tama Tonga has been doing a great job.
I think the fact that they have them both there now does a disservice to Tana Tonga, because one, they look so similar, and now two, there's nothing really distinctive on their actual roles of what they do for Solo. So you're going to be putting them in these tag team matches, and is why I call them like the Tongan Bashams or something along those lines, because they're like similar to each other in terms of look, and you don't really know kind of like what they can actually do in the ring.
I,
You
I,
haven't actually fully established that.
I think the fear is for me right now. This group is that like, and people might not agree, but I think the Tama has come off as the best worker of all three in the last 3 months.
Yeah, because
And
I'm gonna keep it buck with you. I watched that Kevin Owens match, and I was like, this match is not good to me. I could be bugging. The Kevin Owens and Solo Sikoa match that was
yeah,
on Friday,
yeah.
and I was like falling asleep during it. I was like, yo, Solo kind of, he doesn't really have like a bag.
He regressed kind of crazy, which is crazy because in the places he regressed at, he actually is better as a character. And like,
Like I feel like he's trying to work the WWE main event style, but he's not really bringing anything to it.
yeah,
Like to me, that match to me was like, damn, this match is kind of like boring as fuck. Until like it came out, and then Randy Orton came out, and I sat up in my chair because that pop was so fucking loud. But no, he didn't really bring into it. So when I think about this Cody versus Solo program that may happen, or I don't know if it's going to be a 6-on-6 or a 3-on-3 at the next pay per view or not. But when I think of this program that's about to happen, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for Solo Sokoa in a main event program.
there will be a lot of Gaga there. I think we should just remember that it is a Cody Rhodes main event. I think Cody Rhodes main event style so far has been very physical, very technical, very New Japan. If you want to
Mhm.
like get clear about it, it's been very like strong style type.
Right.
Like this would be like the most kind of dramatic thing that he will have done. But I think that right now we're getting to a point where it's like you have to start the next chapter of this whole thing, and Cody is definitely a part of that. He's like intricately a part of this forever. because of
Yeah.
WrestleMania. The same way that whenever they decide to swing it back around to the Rollins side of things, then it'll be the same thing. Like they're intricately involved in this, and the bloodline has touched so many characters that it's just you can't help but do it. I thought that it was very much like they weren't even trying to make you question where he was going next, because I was
Yes.
just like, where is he going next? They were like, oh, no, he's right there. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing on
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah. And then they do about it, and then they bring out KO and Randy, and then you have the Randy moment where he looks at the title and all this other stuff like that, which I'm assuming Cody versus Randy at Mania next year. That's what I'm assuming.
Mania. Mania.
Yes. Yes. I'm thinking that long far ahead.
Wow. So not anytime soon.
No. I think soon Cody gets wrapped up in the bloodline stuff. I think even maybe I don't know if he gets to. I just think, to me, if I know Triple H, this is my like hashtag knowing Vince. It's like knowing H now. Um, he can draw out a storyline pretty long, and I think that has like meat on the bones for you to kind of like draw it out before you like. You don't want Randy to turn too sudden
Right.
because then it comes out of nowhere. But you want to plant the seeds for the reasons why he should turn on Cody Rhodes.
And he is
I've
still,
defended you. I've done this.
yeah,
I've made you this person and all these other things. And then you kind of lower the boom on him.
he's still a big baby face too. So you're right. Like you don't want to
Yeah.
pull the rug under that.
And he could turn on Kevin Owens, and then that's how it kind of like leads to Cody, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No,
so
I
I
mean,
think about that.
so I mean, what's your thinking here? Are you thinking Cody and Solo in Toronto? Are you thinking Cody and Solo at SummerSlam? I'm a little bit less enthused that that would be his program for SummerSlam. Just thinking of what could really be going down at that show. Um, but Money in the Bank, they treat this as a big show every single year. They need a big match,
Yeah.
and I think that would be a big enough match for that if they build it correctly. They have this is the longest lead into a pay per view they've had since Mania, so like they have a lot of time to build this.
Actually, no, I mean, it's a month away. It's a.
Well, they only had a week and a half between
Uh,
Backlash and
all right, all right. So yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Um, I think we get my vision. My plan is we get Cody versus Solo at in Toronto. Roman Reigns returns because I do think a Roman Reigns return is on the horizon.
Mhm.
He returns um, at SummerSlam. We get Cody versus Roman at SummerSlam. Solo turns on Roman. Uh, then Solo turns on Roman. We get Roman versus Solo for whatever Saudi pay per view that is,
That won't be
and
till November.
I don't
Also,
expect Roman to be working mad dates anyway.
yeah,
So
exactly. So that's another thing is like, do they write him off? Like there has to be some sort of a write off for him again, where because Bash in Berlin is in September,
mhm.
and
He's not going to that.
yeah, I don't think he's gonna go to that. But there's like then it'll be Crown August. That'll be August 31st. Then Crown Jewel. They haven't announced anything in between September, October. But not even spoiler alert, but more of a quick hit. They have rumored that Bad Blood is returning in October in Atlanta, and it will be a Hell in a Cell, the Hell in a Cell 25th anniversary, or the 25th anniversary of Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. So like that's what they want to celebrate there. So there's meat on there. There's some smoke to that with what you're saying right here.
I feel like somewhere The Rock is going to get involved. It's going to lead to also that Netflix premiere, and then from that Netflix premiere, we set up WrestleMania. So I truly do believe we're getting Roman Rock next year at WrestleMania, and not as much as Rock versus Cody would be great. I think we might get Rock versus Cody at that Netflix thing. I could be wrong too. I don't know. I could be bucking out. Um,
He's injured right now, so we might not. He injured himself during the movie.
oh
I was
fuck.
filming that movie.
Well, all right. Well.
Old bitch. Um,
Clash at the Castle.
Clash at the Castle, baby.
Surprise win for the Unholy Union at Alba Fire and Ilya Dawn.
Can we just get something out the way?
Let's talk about it.
Jade messed up. She messed up. Okay.
Yeah.
She has not messed up. since she's been there or since she's been here.
Hmm.
I
She had
could
that little
tell
hiccup. She had that little hiccup in France, but it was because, um,
Io was knocked out.
yeah, something along those lines. But she definitely had a little hiccup. All these hiccups are like marks against her for certain people. But go ahead.
Yeah, all these hiccups are marks against her, but they're also things that she could not control. Okay, I know that the big thing is rope gate. I'll give I'll give
Were the ropes compromised?
yeah, I'll give some credence to the ropes because you see AJ Styles talking about the ropes. But the thing is, we don't even know if AJ Styles is talking about the ropes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
we don't.
we don't
He
know
doesn't
what.
like these hard ropes, huh?
But there's another incident on the show where the ropes were they looked a little loose and they it hurt another wrestler on the show. She messed up. I think that botch kind of shot her confidence. You can tell when something shoots their confidence because they start messing up in other areas. Um,
Right.
I'm not sure. Like the tap out thing is another thing we don't really quite know
He was like,
what's
"Hey,
going on.
you're losing that shit up."
Yeah, it seemed like he was like, "Yo, it's too tight on right now," but to creatives to creatives credit, just like they did with the mess up. What was it a couple weeks ago we were talking about where they made it a part of this the Randy Orton thing, King of the Ring, and they made it a thing.
Right.
They did talk about it, and it looks like they're gonna get back to that because they're gonna notice it and they're not gonna act like it didn't happen. So yeah, she did a little tap, but it looked like the camera wasn't supposed to catch that. It looked like get me out of this. But other than that, the match was good. The tag team match was actually really good. I thought that they like everyone was working
All,
their asses off.
yeah, they all went for it, which is all you can really ask for in this situation, especially when it's like this big major pay per view. This is the first Scotland PLE, maybe ever, I believe, and they're all going for it. They're all delivering in great ways. I think people hold these things against Jade, and they do it for a lot of talent who they feel like didn't go through the proper channels to be where they're supposed to be at currently. They
What
do
these
the same thing
motherfuckers
for
didn't
Maxine.
they didn't go through the proper channels to be fans. So like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like at the end of the day, these things kind of happen. Braun Breaker slips on the rope last night. We haven't heard a thing about that.
Bro,
Like,
because he made it look like it wasn't a mistake, but it also could have killed Sheamus. That shit
it
was
could have.
scary.
She was like, "Hey, bruv." But no, it's a I think I think she definitely holds herself very hard for this because she knows she's kind of being watched with more of a critical eye. Because I feel like she also is trying to prove not only to herself but to other people that she actually does belong where she's at. And I think it's a fight every day to be able to do that. It's like the 6 months you don't get on TV immediately. You have to spend the 6 months training because we want to make sure that you're up to par and your in ring is up to par. And I think it's a constant reminder for her, but I think what you can't do is have your confidence dwindle at any second because of it. And I think she'll recover. She's Jamaican. She'll recover. But like I think she'll recover from it. Um because it's just one misstep and you move on. Like it really, really is. But the amount of attention it got was like people were just waiting in the wings. AEW fans, people who don't like Jade anyway, all these people just like waiting in the wings for it. I'm like, y'all look corny. It is what it is, though.
Yeah, Jade is a
She'll be
work
back.
Jade is a work in progress. Um, I would say that I can see if she was botching everything, then I'd be like, okay, there's actually a problem here. But I think that like she still finished that match and she still looked like one of the best performers in that match. I think if
Yeah.
anything, like Shayna looked like a step too slow the whole match during that match, but she still performed really well. But they lost the tag titles to Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I know that there was a lot of I mentioned it last week. I was like, I'm not. I literally said last week, I'm not gonna. Both of us did. We're not gonna make a big deal out of them, losing that tag match. And look at what happened. They put them in position, and they'll be able to do something big. Now the question is like, how can they seem important or consequential next to all of the other bigger stars? Because these women haven't been on TV for half as long as Jade or Shane and Zoe. Like they got to do something with these titles, and just going to NXT ain't gonna cut it. You know what I'm saying? They got to actually they got to work these shows and let people know who they are.
The truth is, currently they can't because the division isn't really strong enough. With Bianca Belair and Jade in the division, you at least have people who care about things. But realistically, if they decide to go their separate ways, that division is effed because there's not a single WWE and tag teams. They're not a priority at all. Like, not even close. So they're kind of like put aside as like these things that actually happen on the show, or like these other things that happen on the show. This also happened on the show. Um, but you got to start putting people. I'm not sure. I don't know where the fuck Sonya Deville was. I was like, damn, you trying to you trying to think these girls, and you're not even there. You're not even in Scotland. Um,
We don't need you. Not this week.
but no, it's a tag team. The tag team, women's tag team thing has a large uphill to climb, and I'm not sure they'll ever get over it.
Well, shit. At least their titles are changing hands and they're being defended. Like
This
the
is true.
men's,
This is
the,
true.
the men ain't doing shit with
Yeah,
them with those. Like I know you love Miz, and I've come around to Miz, but it's like it might be time for them to drop these titles too. Like there's nothing going on with both of the titles. Well, actually, no, I won't say that. A Time Down Under, they actually have a storyline. I'll give them
they
that.
do.
They
They
have a
do.
storyline, and they have a direction. I just think that like the tag title shouldn't just be like the WrestleMania everybody getting one match type thing. And I think that if you have the singular storylines doing so well, right? That then I think that you can spend some time to make the tag titles mean something at some point rather.
I agree. I think yeah, no, I agree. They should at least one pair should have been on this damn show. I mean, they were there, but they weren't on the show. But it is what it is. Um, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable, I did not know went 22 minutes.
Yeah, I went 22 minutes. It was my favorite match on the show. Next to Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. But again, it's you can name any of those kind of top matches on the show as your favorite. But this was my favorite match on the show. Sammy's got it, man. Like if he is not a world champion by this time next year, then they fucking goofed because he is one of the best storytellers in the company.
hmm
He actually elicits a storyline no matter what part of the card he is on. You know what I mean? And I think it's just time, man. Like last year wasn't his time, and I
Right.
agree with that. Now that the smoke is cleared and the dust is settled, he needs that title, man. He needs that World Heavyweight Championship. You know what I mean? Like I think that he was able to elevate Chad Gable in a way that I never thought possible. And I'm not putting that all on Sammy because Chad did a lot of the work himself. But these matches, and as well as with Otis and even Maxine, everyone, they all played their roles perfectly. And this has honestly been one of my favorite storylines in the company this year.
It's gotten really, really good. This was a continue. Yo, him being countering that ankle lock and then like chop blocking Maxine was kind of nuts. Um, this was a great match. This was a great story. Again, I didn't expect Gable to win this because I would, if he were going to win, it should have been last pay per view, is what I'll say. Um, but it seems like the moment is over, but a much bigger moment is on the rise. And I think him as a character, you're gonna look at this and be like, "Yo, Chad Gable was one of those guys. Like he really is. He's a man who does it all." And he announced over the weekend he re-signed to the company, and he said he re-signed because everything Triple H promised him has come true. This
Yeah.
man did not leave him in the dark. This man did not let him out to dry. This man didn't say, "Sorry, we got nothing for you." He's done everything he's doing for Gable, and I think Gable has deserved it.
Yeah, I think he deserves it, and I think even with what we're gonna talk about on Raw, there's I'm confused, but yeah, it seems like he's factored into several different things from what it looks like. Um, we also had Bailey versus Piper Niven. I think a good match, but like a down moment on the show, kind of a down moment. The crowd wasn't as hot as I thought they were going to be for this match.
I think they haven't done enough establishing Bailey as a real presence on the show. She's kind of like she comes out, she smiles, she's thing hand, she's friends with Naomi and stuff like that. But I don't know if she has an actual champion's presence on the show, like they would do with a Charlotte or a Becky or any one of the rather. because she might not be. Bailey just might not be on the show for 1 week, which
Yeah,
is like weird for her being a whole world champion. Because you wouldn't do that to any other world champion. But
and
I
they don't.
think, yeah, and they put this quickly together for the hometown fans. It was a solid match. Like you said, probably Bailey requesting this one. Chelsea did a lot. Chelsea was great.
It was great.
Um,
She was fantastic.
she was amazing in this. But ultimately, Bailey comes out the victory, and it seems like if she managed to make it through Money in the Bank next month, she will be facing Nia Jax. If she
I'm,
makes it through Money in the Bank next month.
I'm not high on this. I'm really not high on this match, as most people probably will be.
I think
It's got no swag to it.
it's a you have the opportunity to make it interesting. I'm not going to say immediately take the belt off Bailey, but there's a women's Money in the Bank, and women are more notably used. They usually cash it in very quickly. Um, so there's an opportunity to make it a little bit more interesting if you want to go a triple threat route with Bailey, whoever wins Money in the Bank and maybe cashes it in, and Nia Jax. But I also feel like we need to start making Bailey feel like a champion on the show, and we need to start making Nia Jax feel like a true presence on the show as well. And that's like closing segments, opening segments, not just kind of like wedging them into things on SmackDown.
Not beating up Michin. I think
Yeah,
that
come on
doesn't
now.
do anything.
No, they beat her up on Tuesdays and shit.
Yeah, they don't do anything for anyone. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, Judgment Day Bard, aka Not There. Um, I thought this was again. It's cool to see the World Heavyweight Championship back on horses and having really like horse matches with like real,
Big guys.
yeah, real big guys. We haven't seen that in a while. You would have thought that would have been Vince, but like more often than not, right? Meelz, like it was always
It was
tiny
either Brock, yeah, or
Roman versus
yeah.
a tiny guy. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool to see that. I really, really scary moment again, rope gate. Really scary moment with Priest and those ropes. Um, but other than that, he came back from it and actually utilized. And I'm pretty sure he got a lot of respect for this. But
Hmm.
utilized the ropes to sell for the rest of the match, which I thought was very a very novel approach.
I'm sure he's gonna say that wasn't selling, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were definitely selling because, but I mean, the one thing that would tell you that it wasn't like for real selling is the fact that Priest or Drew weren't like he wasn't putting him in leg locks and shit. So like
yeah.
that's probably why it wasn't. But I think we were all in this match as good as it was, looking to see where the shoe was going to drop and who was going to come out. And for to that point, it was very subdued up until the ref bump, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen here? Ref bump happens, and then all you hear is commotion throughout the whole thing. Really great camera shot, and
Hmm.
again, if you want to ever make a case for if you ever want to make a case for Kevin Dunn not being a thing anymore, this is for sure where you make the case for that at, because this you don't get this camera shot in a regular WWE programming without this. But the camera shot from behind
So you
whoever.
wouldn't see who the actual referee was when they
Yes.
slid in the ring.
So when the ref comes out, it zooms over to the other side. It's CM Punk. He counts to two, puts up the two, and then Drew tries to go after him, and CM Punk kicks him in the balls, and Drew gets hit with the South of Heaven, and he loses the match.
He's been screwed out the match in his own hometown. Listen, this got heat. This is they doing something here. It's gonna lead over to Raw, but Damian Priest getting a big win and a much needed win on this thing to legitimize his title reign. Because I think a lot of people also felt transitional when they're
Mm-hmm.
talking to him. And he made sure that he was aware of that when he talked about it in the press conference afterwards. But he's not transitional. And I think, all right, here's my thing. We'll talk about this also when we get to the show. He's a face.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's silently turned. He's silently turned. I think they figured it out a little bit. But
He's
in
the moral compass of the group. He's the leader of the group. He's
yeah,
the
It's
He's
funny
the
how
guy who's making the challenges at this point.
it's funny how wrestling does this, where it's like silently the person will become face, and it's just like, wait a minute, but you hang out with heels, so it's like now we're just waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he he takes the barring them from ringside stuff very seriously here. They don't come out in the Drew thing, but before we get to the Damien stuff, ultimately, right? Like the controversy about Drew not winning the title. I want to be clear here. He is a heel, y'all. Are we have we forgotten this part about this whole thing? Is that he is firmly a heel. Whether you want to cheer him out as some like misguided shit or not, like he
Hmm.
still is a bad guy, and it's like he actually is facing his comeuppance from someone who he not only injured, but it's like I feel like I shouldn't even have to say this.
No.
I want to be clear with that too. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say this shit because like it's very simple what's happening or what's going on here. But they see people saying like they hate their fans and all this other stuff, and I'm like I just don't get that. I don't get that. I
Also
don't
won at WrestleMania. I think people forget that too.
he definitely beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania and got
Like
cashed.
handedly and decidedly. So he got a big win this year. He got cashed in on based on CM Punk, and then he also loses his title shot based on CM Punk. But he also is the one who's responsible for CM Punk being injured for the last number of months. I think it's great that CM Punk has this much visual time on television despite being injured over the last 5 months. Because realistically, no one would be on television over 5 months.
It's a
As they're
different
trying to rehab from an injury. Yeah,
a different time. I think it makes it actually makes a lot of sense for him to be there because he still brings eyes to the product. But if he wants to be there, then why not? You could tell he just really wants to be there.
yeah.
For however you want to say it, whatever you think the reason that he wants to be there is, he actually does want to be there. So, um, you know, I don't get I don't want to spend that much time on this because I think it's a ridiculous kind of fallacy here where it's like you're not allowed to portray your heel contender in a way where he gets the rug pulled under him from the babyface. Like, who is the
Right.
bigger babyface here? Is it CM Punk or is it Drew McIntyre? It's definitely not Drew McIntyre because he's just because they made him seem like a face to get you guys' hopes up for the past 7 days is not the reason why you should. Because you remember exactly why you shouldn't cheer for him the moment CM Punk comes out. It's like, oh yeah, I don't want him to win. Like fuck him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
because he did all these things, he took CM Punk's WrestleMania thing away. He made shirts about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like these are things, Meelz, that we shouldn't have to explain. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, and let's put it to brass tacks here, Damian needs that title more than Drew and Punk need that title. I think
Absolutely.
if this was another regime, that might have been flipped on its head a long time ago. I
They
think they
might
would
have
have.
said they might have said Drew and Punk needs the title.
Yeah, but you know what Drew did? He put himself out of one program to get himself in a bigger program. And right now, Damian is in one where he needs to be the champion. He needs to look dominant, and he needs to have a bigger reason for whenever whatever happens to him happens. It hurts more because you know how much his title means to him, and you know
Absolutely.
how hard he's had to fight for it. And it's the reason why I say, and this is controversial too, and I'll stand on it. Come July or August, whenever the fucking SummerSlam is, uh I don't think he needs I don't think that I do not think that Damien needs to lose to Gunther. I don't think it's Gunther's time either to have the title.
Hmm. You're not wrong. Um, so let's see kind of where it goes. But
Gunther
I'm
has
not
spent the last 2 years beating everyone.
right.
I think and he just won King of the Ring. I just don't think it's time for him to. He's already made. You know what I mean? Like he can win the title tomorrow.
Hmm.
No one would bat an eye. I think someone, they make a big deal out of there only being 3 people that have defeated him. You know what I'm saying? Let Damien be one of those people. I think that's a bigger rub for him as well. That he can have on his coat because I don't think there's going to be many people that are going to beat Gunther, throughout his career. But
No, I agree.
Clash of the Castle, one of my favorite shows of the year. Um, I'm gonna watch it again and see where it goes in that conversation. But it just a hot crowd from beginning to end, and I thought a really great main event.
Before we head over to Patreon, kind of maybe we'll give this for free on the regular. Let's talk about Uncle Howdy and his friends returning at the end of Raw. This has been something that has been teased maybe since after WrestleMania, I guess. Maybe during WrestleMania. I can't keep track. I don't scan the codes, so they happen, and I just like, okay, well, all right. I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
But all signs had pointed to June 17th of when they're going to make their debut, and sure enough, at the end of Raw, Raw left with some time on the air. Jey Uso got his shit in, got the fuck out. Um, and we got the introduction of, is it the Wyatt Six? Is
The
it
Wyatt
the
Six. Yeah. Sicks. Wyatt Six.
I hate to break it to you guys. I hate to be that person.
Can I start before you say anything? Before I
Go
kind of
ahead,
start.
go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Please do.
I really dug the presentation of this. I don't but here's my thing. The presentation has never been the issue of anything Wyatt family
That's
related.
what I said. When I talked to, I was talking to Rob about it this morning. That presentation has never been the issue
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, they've always looked cool. So, go ahead.
Again, I have no issue with the presentation, and then also it looks like everyone worked really, really hard on the presentation. However, why?
Mm.
Why is this happening? Who, why these? I know we'll learn all of these, or maybe we don't. Right? Like, here's the thing: the Fiend thing. I feel like we never got a true origin story of like why it actually happened. It was just like you got all these like things that you're supposed to decipher on your own, and all these other things like that. I think we're past the era of this spooky shit. To be honest with you,
Right.
I think this is.
If you want to do spooky shit, just make a show for them to do it and make it on Peacock only or
You
something
know
like
what's really scary? Braun Breaker beating someone around the ring to kill him.
that.
That was frightening.
Well, here's
Braun,
the thing. Here's the thing with the spooky argument, right?
yeah,
There is a home for it because it has always existed. And we were kids and we had Papa Shango, and we had the Dungeon of Doom, and then we had obviously Undertaker, Kane. There's room for it. There is always room for spooky shit in wrestling. I think that what we're getting is the same type of spooky shit. I think, and I think that it's like the presentation no hasn't changed because this is from the mind of Bray Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? It's literally from this guy's mind. And I looked at it and I was pretty silent throughout it. I tried to give it its grace and give it a chance to breathe a little bit, right?
yeah, same.
And it goes through. I'm still not sure and again, I have not been following any of the Wyatt Six stuff. So like I don't know who the hell are these people who they knocked out. Were they rumored to be people that they were targeting on this?
Yeah, yeah. These are all rumored people. Everyone who's there is supposed to be there.
Was it Gunther, or is that
Oh,
confirmed?
you mean the people who they killed?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it was Gunther, but I don't think it's Gunther. I don't
Okay.
think they would actually do that to Gunther. They did it to Chad Gable for whatever fucking reason, but
Well,
I guess.
Chad was rumored in last week's QR stuff. He was rumored. There was a
Oh well.
CG. There was a CG written on one of the images, but Braun Strowman was definitely one, and we kind of already figured that he would be in that orbit because he kind of has to come out of the Judgment Day orbit right now, and it makes sense for him to be there. So um, it goes throughout, and you see all the characters, and what
This
did
was
you
like some
see?
spooky Halloween shit, bro.
So apparently the characters right now, the woman was Nikki Cross.
Yes.
Joe Gacy was Huskus, the pig guy, like the first guy you see coming through Gorilla. Um uh the rabbit was Dexter Loomis. The bunny rambling rabbit, or no, the rabbit was this is gonna be a hilarious segment. If we clip this, the rabbit is Rowan,
Yeah.
the crow is Dexter Loomis, and Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas.
So here's the thing about this, right? Uncle Howdy's been around forever, right? Uncle Howdy was around the last iteration, essentially before Bray's passing. He was around during his run. Um, and we never got the story of who or why Uncle Howdy was there.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't see it.
No, we never did.
So him being back and now at the forefront of this, my thing is, how do we incorporate these people into a show in a meaningful way? And then also, how do you disassociate them being absolute nobodies from how they're going to be on the show? Because
One of them is a former women's champion. But this is what I have to say. This was my overarching
nice
criticism. This is not even criticism. This is my overarching silver lining, if you will. Okay.
Sure.
I said at the end of this, literally to myself in my office, I said, "Well, at least they can all wrestle this time."
Can they though?
Yes, Nikki Cross can wrestle. We've seen what Gacy can do. He was killing it. Bo Dallas has always been a solid worker. If not, I mean, if he's just going to be doing his brother's moves, then he'll be fine. And Dexter Loomis was always just okay. I mean, I and Rowan is Rowan.
You asked me this last week, so I'm going to return this favor to you. Who are they stepping over on this show? Who?
It's a lot of niggas.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a lot of. Hey, I am not arguing with you there. It is a lot of niggas. It is a lot of niggas in this group.
One of them can't wrestle. That's just it.
One of what you said. One of them can or can't.
No, can't. Like, not that they don't have the skills. It's just, yeah, they're not. They can't wrestle.
I absolutely agree. You will see no complaints from me there. I absolutely agree that motherfucker cannot wrestle. But
Joe Gacy's Dexter Loomis.
I'm just mad. This is how we get Joe Gacy into the main roster. I'm like, this. You could like his storyline on NXT never got a write off. He just was on.
Here's my thing with this as well. I don't expect this to last very long.
Well, did you see the reports? The reports are saying that it's not. It's not going to last long at all.
So is this like a seasonal gig or like what's going on here? What did the report say? Because I didn't read the report.
Reports say that the reports basically have said, and we've also heard this in our own Discord as well from people that are in the know, that they're not going to be touching any title belts. They're not going to be going for any belts. They're going to be very much in their own little section of the show, and they're not going to be around like forever. Like they're going to pop in and pop out.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, Meelz, I'm not
against it. No, I'm not against that. But also, I just don't see this as having a long shelf life when you look at something that feels very real, and this doesn't feel as real. And I even think them going as far as actually like murdering people, to me,
crazy
is like, what? Why?
Absolutely nuts, though, right? Like, well, I was just shocked at the imagery, but then again, we saw blood on Clash of the Castle, so like I shouldn't really be that shocked.
Right.
So,
but to me, them murdering like Chad Gable, who's in the middle of an actual program, and not to say that it's going to like last. He could come back next week and like, that was crazy.
But he's not in the program though. He's not. Sammy said, well, and we're getting into Raw here, but like Sammy said, he's done.
Right. And then they walked out on him. Yeah.
Exactly. He has no program. So absolutely, it's well within. Right. Yeah, he doesn't have a program right now. So like, if that leads to being what are the creeds and what's her name facing off against these niggas, then that's just what it is.
Here's my
my God, is that what it is?
I don't know, but I hope not.
Oh my God, is it Gable in the creeds and what's her name versus these niggas?
I can't imagine. I mean, they're gonna be faces, I'm assuming.
The Wyatt niggas are definitely faces, yes, because they've attacked a heel. Which to your
and
point,
Braun, I guess,
and Braun. but like to that point, they should be baby faces because who's gonna boo this? Like obviously, Meelz, they don't want to boo this, and they're not going to, regardless of how we feel about it. No one's gonna boo this team.
I like the presentation.
The presentation, but that's never been
But
the
I don't like anything else regarding this, and I never have. I don't want to say I'll never will because I haven't seen anything yet. But to me, this takes a lot of. You got to be able to present this. You gotta you gotta be able to breathe life into these actual characters. And we can't do what we did last time with the Wyatt stuff, where every week he just comes out,
rambles.
rambles, and leaves.
Well, luckily, another silver lining part. None of these people can talk. I mean, one of them in the group literally does not talk. Like that is his gimmick, is that he does not talk, Meelz.
I'm sure this is great for the crowd.
They loved it. They loved it.
Bring this out at every show. But the introduction to them, poor Nikki Cross. Like
He got
Nikki,
a job. How is it poor Nikki Cross? She
that's
wasn't.
not that shouldn't be I wouldn't say this if she didn't have a job. Maybe I would, but I feel like actually I don't know. I haven't thought about Nikki Cross in a long
Are you
time.
willing to? My question is before we get out of here. Are you willing to give it a chance?
I'm willing to give it a chance.
How long are we giving it a chance before? Because I think this is how we should report on this week to week. Because I don't follow any of the hoo ha online about this shit. Right? I think we should give it a set number of weeks, but we kind of keep it in its own little thing where it's just like, well, this happened with them, but we give no
I guarantee you nothing happens for the first 4 weeks.
6 weeks then. 6 weeks.
Let's give it 6 weeks.
I think they will come back and have something to do with Gable not getting into Money in the Bank. I do think that.
If they killed Braun and they killed Chad Gable, they have to find 2 more people to replace the face. What's his face?
Yeah,
Bronson Reed.
exactly. That's why I think that they have had something to do with that whole thing. That those two are not going to be in the match next week. And they're going to come back looking for revenge.
Let's see how this goes.
Let's
I don't even want to. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I really don't even want to give it 6 weeks. I want to give it like 3. But
let's lightly report on this as it happens.
sure.
We can even put it on the free part of the show. Let's lightly report on. Hey, this happened, y'all. We're gonna give it time, and then by SummerSlam, we are going to say whether we're going to ever give this time again.
Okay,
I think that's fair.
that's fine with me.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening to the A Show. If you think that if you think that we should spend more time on the Wyatt Six, let us know. But right now, we are tentatively following the buzzards. And after 6 weeks, we will shut our windows. So, for Meelz, I'm Justin. Thank you for listening to the A Show. We'll be right back for our Patreon listeners, and we'll see you next week to everyone else. Peace.